All right, hi book lovers. Today I got Corcin with me. She's from Singapore. We just briefly met online and she has got a book to share with us today. A book that got me so interested that I can't wait to actually, get this recording up and running before Chinese New Year. So Corcin, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. It's really a privilege.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on to share the books. It's really encouraging for people who read and also to share their knowledge with the rest of the community. I think it's very admirable.
Well, thanks for the privilege, really. And I think maybe through our conversation, it's actually aligned with one of the key takeaways as well. So we will touch on that.
All right, yeah. So, Corcin, you, if you don't mind, would you like to share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and possibly, why do you love books so much, or how many books do you read? Something that we can get to know you by.
Wow. Sure, I share what I can. Hi, everyone. My name is Corcin Tan. I'm quite a philosophical and naturally optimistic person. So I'm very into philosophical concepts, big picture issues, global events, mysteries of life, things like that. And the optimistic part of me, actually entice me to always looks out for ways to better days and brighter future. And for living, I'm an account director for a research and consulting firm, specializes in technology, media, and telecommunications. So I keep myself abreast with market trends in these areas. So that generally sums up the books or the material that I read. So as I shared, because of my work, so I do read up a lot of market trends, whether and the force behind it that drives those trends. So I read up on those, mega trends and etc. And the natural part of me, the philosophical and the optimistic part of me would also sometimes will help me to pick up books in different things, very wide topics, spiritual books, self-motivations, literature, daydreams quite a fair bit as well. Those fits into those daydreams, and different things. So
what are those daydream books that you just mentioned?
No, it could be just literature,
fictional books, yeah.
Fiction books, yes, fictional books. Anything. I read a lot of Chinese fictional books as well. So it's a combination, whether it is online or offline, anything.
Right. So you have a book to share with us today, and I believe it's a hardcover book.
So the book I'm sharing today, it is the 1 Minute Millionaire, and the long title is 1 Minute Millionaire: The Enlightened Way to Wealth. Right. It first glance at it, it will sounds like those personal financial book, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, No Down for Property, those kind of. it looks like those books. So anyway, this book, it is co-authored by Mark Victor Hansen and Robert G. Allen. So Mark Victor Hansen is the co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series.
I remember that one when I was a
Chicken
little
Soup
boy.
for the Soul. You have chickens.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So it's Chicken Soup for the Soul, Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, this whole series of it. And Robert is a well-known financial expert who authored a series of personal finance books. Some of them are on the New York Times bestsellers. So, if readers, usually you would know what New York Times bestseller is. It's really quite a reputable benchmark. You go to bookstore, whether SPH, Time, it's very common that they will highlight certain books and position them as, New York Times bestseller. And you will know that there are two big umbrellas under the book categories, fictional and non-fiction, correct?
Yes.
But this book, it's actually 2-in-1. It's actually 2-in-1. It's a hybrid. So, which is why this book is very interesting when I was introduced to this book.
You mentioned that one page is one book, the other page is the other book.
Correct. So other than the first few introductory pages, it will then split into two parts. So if I open up the book, you will see it looks like this. Is it clear?
Yes, I see the purple page on the right, which is that's got a purple border around it, and then the other one has got nothing. It's just like a page with words.
Correct. So basically, on the right is actually the fictional part. So it is a tale of a single mother by the name of Michelle. So she has she's in a dilemma actually. She lost her financial means. So the sole breadwinner, her husband, was killed in an accident. So and her rich in-laws have never approved of her. And they went to court and obtained custody of her two children on the grounds that she does not have the means to support them, right? So, and it then, one thing leads to another, her life just spiraled down. She eventually had to stay in a homeless shelters. And by coincidence, she met this lady by the name of Sam, who turned out she herself went through similar challenges before, but of course she came out, she overcome those challenges triumphantly. So she takes Michelle under her wing. So essentially they are now mentor-mentee relationship, and then it start the whole story then goes into this journey like an adventure where in the desperation to gain back the custodian of her children. So Michelle had a bet with her in-laws where to show that, because it's basically, from you pick yourself up from where you fell, right? So since the reason of her losing the custody of her children is because she doesn't have financial means. So in order to prove that, she had a bet with her in-laws where she will she will show them, or rather to present $1 million in cash in 90 days. So she needs that $1 million in cash, and you cannot get it from loan. It's really your earnings in cash, 1 million, 90 days. So that will raise some eyebrows.
That's now you got me, right? I'm wondering, how do you actually get $1 million in 90 days, right?
Exactly. So then the rest of the book then went into how. So obviously Michelle will because Sam is her mentor, so she relies on Sam guidance to obtain those wealth, to acquire and to accumulate in 90 days. So it's really, if you really think about it, it is tough, but it is not impossible. It is not impossible if you really think about it.
Okay.
And hopefully this book will open your minds for that, right? So of course, so we were talking about the tales, the fictional side. Then the left side is actually the theories. So the lessons, the modules. So it's really very straightforward. That it basically just strip off all the meat. They just give you the bones of it, really the theories, the modules, the principles. There are 24 principles. They call it aha moments. And those are principles. Principles means it's applicable regardless of situation. It's like gravity is a principle, right? So it's something like that. So it's theories and etc. So the reason why it was done that way, because so that it is something that is suitable and appealing to different type of learners, which actually bring me to, by the way, I almost forgotten. So it is not just right and left, like theory and tales, right? There's actually a correlation between the two as well. So you will see as you are going through the stories, you will see sometimes there are page numbers that are being superscript in the story. So I highlighted so that you can see an example. Can you see?
Yep.
Yeah?
I can see it. Yeah.
There's a page number here, 76. Yeah. So you go back to page 76. It will then show you. Now this will be the lesson that type. Yeah. So then you will see. So that was that page. It was about being a magnet. I mean, essentially, in short, once you set yourself in that mode, you tend to attract the things that you set yourself. It's like when you think when you think people are cruel or not nice, then you will see a lot of people like that. When you start to put your eyes, let's say if you bought a car, let's say a Toyota in red, then before this, you don't really see a lot of this kind of cars on the road. But once you start driving it on the road, then you realize, hey, there are a lot of cars in like this, So it's really your attention, and therefore so-called a magnet, like you will attract this to you. So this kind of principle. So it actually correlates. So it actually, all these lessons, it's parallel with the stories as it develop.
So how do you read the book? Do you just read the fictional part one go, and then you do your reference, or you read both at the same time?
It is up to you. It is up to your preference, from what I understand. So, and the reason why the authors arranged the book in this format, because essentially we always say generally you learn from either right brain learners or left brain learners, right? So the right brain are more vision, where you read better through stories, experience, which is why we go to theater, watching movies and etc. But there are also people who are left brain, where they are better at looking at theories, really straight to the points. And then, of course, you can always go back and making a reference, because then it is a different learning, because through the story you understand the concept, and then when you do a revision, making a reference back to the relevant theory, because it is short and concise, it stays in your brain longer. You can understand it better. Without the book, you can still apply it. The first takeaway actually is not from, they mention about it, but it is really not from the content of the book.
Yes.
It is really how it is being done and the thought behind this. So the first takeaway for me is really a reiteration of what communication is about. So what I learned from this book, and they actually mention about it as well somewhere. Communication is about the response that you want. So if I didn't get the expected response, that means I did not communicate it correctly. So you always have the end means in mind, and therefore it is on the earnesty of the person who started that communication to ensure that it sits well with the recipient, the audience, and therefore you get the response that you want. So if, let's say, if the intention or the response that I hope for in this sharing session is so that the audience in front of this screen after this, they will really pick up the book, then how do I communicate it?
It all starts with you, and you have total control of the response from your environment.
Correct. And it is very important, because even the first few lessons that they have are talking about leverage on your network, mentors, your team, and all these require communications, because if you don't have that common goal, or it will be hard for you to head to the same direction. So it is really that lesson and how they put it together, because quite frankly, I have not come across any book that would actually have this thought thinking behind, where they are not just thinking about, I just want to communicate, sharing information. I really wanted to transform this. People, when they read this, they will come back, there will be something that they can use. And therefore, there's two ways. They think about, people learn through right brain learners, left brain learners, and this is what I want. So I tell you a story. I give you the keynotes on it, how you can cross-reference them. And if you're in short time, spend 1 minute just to pick up one or two key points.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually ties back to what they essentially want. 1 million millionaire really starts from $1 at a time, 1 minute at a time. So it's really that communication. So that's the first takeaway from the book. Because every time when I pick up the book, like I said, every time I pick up, I will have different key takeaways. But I can't help but to really, appreciate how the author think through, trying to think through, what he wants you to take away.
Was there a situation that you had in the past where it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to be, and then you realized that, I should have done it differently?
Actually, very common. Doesn't have to be in the past. It's a daily thing.
Oh.
Even, especially with people that you are very close to.
Yeah.
You tend to take it for granted because you thought that because of the time that you spend, you would expect the person to understand you already. It may not necessarily the words. It could be that response, the non-verbal communication would have sent off a different message. And after all, men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Oh, you read that book, huh?
It's a daily thing. You realize that it's not what you expected. Hey, how come there's no reply? Or as long as you communicate, it's really a daily thing.
Yeah. It was strange. It was just only last week that I was in Starbucks, and I noticed a situation quite similar to what you shared. There was a customer who started a conversation with the staff, and started a bit rudely, right? So the staff responded a little bit off, right? I don't know what words to use, but she was a little bit off, that kind of like in return pissed off the customer, right? So when the customer left, right, the next customer came in line and spoke to her in a nice way, and she changed. So it's like exactly what you just said. People's response will adapt to how you actually treat that person or how you actually begin the communication with that person.
Yeah, if you have the end mean in mind, it's easier because you are the one who has a concept or idea or request, right? So therefore, you just need to remind yourself, or I try to remind myself as much as possible. Because if I didn't get the response in the past, you probably feel that, what you did. After a while, you realize that it is your responsibility. Then you think, what did I say? So that's the reminder. The moment I look at this, because like I said, the format itself is the manifestation of that lesson. So that's the first key takeaway.
All right. What about the second takeaway?
The second way, I'm still trying to learn. It is a lesson. If I've done this before, then I drop this, and then I think I'm convinced that I should pick this up again. So essentially, it's a very short 2 words: giver gets.
Giver gets.
You gift. So and the act of giving is without expectation of reciprocity, because if you do expect a give back, then it is a trading. So
right.
It's an exchange. You have an intent. It's really giving is really the gracious act without expectation of reciprocity. If you really look at it, look around. The most loved people are the ones who are most loving. If you look around your friends, people that you know, the person who has the most friends tend to be a very friendly person.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah, what goes around comes around.
Exactly. So and the best way to learn is really to teach, to share, like what you are doing.
Okay.
Right? Like you started, you initiate this, let's say this initiative and sharing book. And I'm sure it has rewarded you in some way.
Kindle Malaysia sponsored the channel.
I mean, that aside, the network, the people,
lots.
book that you got to learn that you may not. So it's really the giving. Somehow the universe will reward you back. So it is and this book have one of the very interesting concept that I've never come across in other personal wealth books as well, where they essentially, my understanding is that giving is really an act, a manifestation of your acknowledgement of the spiritual side of wealth and embracing it. Meaning you have to be, how should I put it? So, okay, in a sense, the giving part, they even very explicitly tells you that they strongly encourage you, or rather they advocate tithing. So tithing is, giving is giving, right? Tithing, if you look up, tithing is very specifically, it is about giving a tenth of your income. If you are, in any religion, you should be quite familiar with this. If you're Christian, you are quite familiar with the teaching of tithing. I think in Islamic, the Muslim, I think it's called zakat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Christian is tithing, right?
Tithing, yeah, tithing, yeah, and then zakat. And then I think different religions they may have that practice as well.
Like Buddhism is like donations, but I don't think they specify an amount, but they do accept donations.
Yeah, correct. So it basically what they are trying to say is not necessarily back to any religious organization, but back to the community, maybe to a humanitarian cause that that you are really care about, things like that, because it rewards you in many ways. Immediately when you give, you feel that you have made a difference. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it, no matter how small or how big the sum is. It gives you feel the most fulfilled actually at the moment of giving. It's actually, if you really think about it and let it sink in, to me it does. The when you earn, you're happy lah, but when you give, it feels very fulfilled. It's like, the money fulfill the calling,
So now that I'm hearing this, right, this is not exactly related to making money. So this book says 1 million millionaire, and I'm thinking like wealth doesn't necessarily mean money. It could be another form of wealth.
No,
like happiness.
Actually, they in this book, it's meant to talk about money. It meant to talk about money, and all the lessons are about how to make money in an enlightened way. Meaning, there are certain principles to be an enlightened millionaire. That's how they put it. First of all, you must, of course, the way you make money, it has to be legal. It has to be ethical. Nobody gets harmed. And the end mean of this, the end goal of you making money is so that you can give it away. You can invest. So if you have that, they link this. They give an analogy of being an enlightened millionaire. As a bee, the honeybee.
Yes.
So a honeybee, the objective is to make honey, right? So, and to make honey, they will go to nectars, collecting nectars from plants to plants, correct? So the end means for the honeybee is to make honey. So like us, make 1 million or make whatever amount, whether it is below 1 million or many millions, but in that process, without the bees knowing, the bees helps to grow that gardens and etc. You cross pollinate the plants. So that is the purpose of what they wanted to do. There's actually a website that has many more. It's actually 1minutemmillionaire.com. that has a lot more lessons about this. This is only one of the books. So that is the reason why. So when they come to this, they say their objective to create this so that they can have 1 million of millionaire in a decade, because eventually enlightened millionaire in a decade, so that remember, one of the spiritual part of this is to tithe, right? That 10% will go to charity for the betterment of humanity. So imagine 10% of 1 million of 1 million is how much? Yeah. So that's the thing. So that's why it is a book that helps me to it actually improves my relationship with financial wealth. then it finally dawns on me that, hey, it is okay to want to be a millionaire. Because I'm not sure what is your experience. As much as we say that, in this time of the world, a lot of people are promoting, making money quick, and a lot about accumulating wealth. But equally vocal, you will also hear voices about how it is evil.
Yes.
Like, money you have to sacrifice, or even if it's not evil, it will be, to make money you have to sacrifice time with family. There's no lack of stories about people in the pursuit of wealth, they lost their health. What's the point of being a millionaire and bedridden? Those kind of story. And after a while, sometimes like, although at the surface everyone said, I want to make money, but really, do you really? Because in that back end, it's really, there's still a nagging, tiny little but powerful nagging voice. So it really helps me to really look at this or rather looking at money as in the right position. It is neutral, which is the third takeaway, by the way. It really helps in many aspects of life, and when it comes to money, it's really something that everyone needs to know.
Yeah.
Your relationship with money, it is, like I said, it's actually my third takeaway. It is, I liken it to knowledge.
You're linking it to knowledge.
Yeah,
money to knowledge.
Money is like knowledge.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
First of all, it's neutral.
Okay.
It is all.
Yes.
It is all good. It depends on how you use it. Knowledge also the same. They are bad knowledge. They are good knowledge.
Right.
And secondly, it is a powerful tool. It is a great servant, but a lousy master.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I heard this another phrase from Pat Massetti. He was this Australian self-help guru. So I went for his talk, and there were a couple of takeaways, but my one takeaway that I always remember him saying is that money is not evil.
Yeah, it's not.
Money just enhances who you really are. So if you are someone who is very kiam siap and you have millions, you'll be very kiam siap with your money. Yeah. If you're someone who's very charitable, you become more charitable. If you're someone who likes to do promiscuous things, you tend to use the money to go gambling and do extramarital activities and stuff. So money is, like you said, neutral. It is neutral.
Yeah, it is neutral, and therefore they are not just talking about being a millionaire. It is really being an enlightened millionaire. What it means is there are ways to have a positive relationship with money, and again, it's really like knowledge. It is a powerful tool. It doesn't mean that in order to make money, you have to sacrifice time with family. On the other hand, if you have enough money, you can afford to have quality family time. If you have enough wealth, you can be healthy actually. You get the best nutrition, you have time to rest, you are less stressful, all this contributes. So how do you, in that pursuit of that wealth, in that journey, how do you make sure that you're on the right path and still having the end positive goals in mind? So that's the key, which is why, like I said, this is how I feel about the book. It's really, and it is also like knowledge in the sense that they actually highlighted 4-step cycles. The 4-step cycles actually is, you imagine, we talk about wealth first, we talk about money first. So it is learn to acquire. You first need to acquire it, right? To earn it in a legally and ethically way, in an ethical way. And secondly is to retain it, right? You earn it, then you squander it off, of course, back to square one or ground zero. So similarly, if I linked it to knowledge, you learn, you acquire it, so you learn. You retain it, meaning you must remember it. If you read it and then after that you forgot, it's also useless. And the third part is to use it. You retain it already. So money, acquire it, retain it, meaning your savings,
Yeah.
or remember the knowledge. Use it. The use it is to invest that money. See, that's the financial wealth part of it. When you say invest it, it could be investing in certain assets, investing in acquiring more knowledge, investing in yourself, your body, your health, things like that. Things that are essential because you must understand to begin with to acquire wealth, what is required. So you use it to help you to gain, to improve the tools or the body that you need to acquire money in the first place. So if it's knowledge, it is application of knowledge. If you learn a knowledge and it sits in you and you never use it, it's nothing. There's no power. It's really nothing at all. It's like a trivial. Yeah, and then the last but not least, which is the most powerful, is to share it, which is in the money sense will be to give it away, whether it is for the charity or share it. Also can be sharing it with, spending time with your family, spending time with your friends, bless them with certain things, or your donation to the community or charity. And knowledge is of course teaching. Sharing like what you've been doing with your friends, with your network, things like that. So and the interesting part is once you make that link between money and knowledge, then you realize that actually you're right. Money is quite neutral because we tend to be more fair towards knowledge.
Yeah, makes sense. Knowledge and money put together, quite similar. I never saw it that way before.
Yeah, it's actually quite similar in many ways, in the character, in the approach, and the perception of it. And once that is turned, that would help your journey a lot. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. This so you got three parts that you just shared. One is of course about respecting money, having a relationship with money. The other one is of course all these other things about investing yourself. I want to know, after you read this book, right? How have you changed? What are the kind of things that you put into place that put you on a better course towards being a better person, a more wealthier person?
What are the things that have changed? A lot. We are not just looking at. For me, I'm not just looking at my day job. My job itself is I'm in sales, so there are the performance-based factor to it. So if you look at it, I also look at it as a business. So how do I do it? How do I motivate myself? And on top of that, what are the other things that I can do? You look at your investment, you pick up knowledge on different assets, different investment tools that you look at. And like I said, communication, for example, you learn if something goes wrong, sometimes you take a step back and rethink what is it how do I change this way of communication so that I can get the response that I want. Granted, it's not every time that it will change. I can't talk to every customer and make sure that they say, oh yes, I want to buy your things, right? But there are different things. And because it could be a very small thing, and once you change the way you communicate, things becomes different, right? And then that would have a ripple effect. Then you would have even network. And how do you network? What are the interesting things, or sometimes some key points that will pop up? I reread this book again because knowing that I need to share. So. Which is why
thank you for reading it for this channel.
So like we said, giver gets, right? It's actually, if I really think about it, it is really if I came with an intention of sharing, meaning giving away, you tend to learn better.
Of course.
In the past, I would just be like that. Now I know that I need to share. So, I better take note. I want to show an example, which is why I made this mark that I showed you earlier, the superscript, so that I better show something. So, then you refresh it, and then you learn it differently because you know that you need to pass it on. The greatest philanthropists are the ones who comes with a mindset of leaving a legacy behind. You want to pass it on, So it's really small thing at a time. I can't say that's major like immediately. It's really over time. Even the decision of leaving your corporate, it doesn't just pop out after I read this book, I'm going to quit my job. It's not that. It's really over time, and then really the last straw that he eventually make the decision. Of course, he would have, before he moved, he would have looked through what he has done is okay, correct, proved, tested. But I think in my life it will be something like that as well. Like it's 1 minute at a time. Small step. Once you have a change of mind, that starts from to have a change of mind. You have a change of mindset that triggers an action, and if you sustain that action long enough, it becomes a habit. And habit generates the results. You manifest a certain result, whether it is a good habit generates good results, bad habits generate bad results.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing so much. Wow. Especially the last part, you just reminded me why I like sharing books online, and it's all about learning and giving and passing on the knowledge to another person. And thank you so much for doing all of this, and really awesome. Appreciate it a lot.
Which is why I really appreciate you reaching out. Actually, I was a bit hesitant in the first place when you first asked me. But then giver gets, right? So I was like, okay lah.
恭喜发财. Happy Chinese New Year.
Take care. Have a good Chinese New Year. Be well, be safe.
Yes, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, bye.